the more they know I don't like them, the more they hang around me.
Yeah.
This neighbor's kid, who every time I come over, I give her a nickname.
Yeah.
And this kid remembers it, and she talks about me all the time, and I'm not there. And now I am starting to like her.
Well, the thing is, Tim, it's like you're the guy, like, you're mean, but you can't not be funny mean. So kids are going to get a kick out of you. They're not going to read it that way.
They don't. I was a mean, horrible Santa Claus off stage. And when I wasn't on camera, I was an angry, made-up comedian that didn't have any idea what 5 hours of makeup was like. It was horrific. And then these kids wouldn't behave, and I'm swearing, dressed like Santa Claus, until I finally realized, even then, one of the Disney people says, Tim, you can't keep dropping the F-bomb dressed as Santa Claus around these kids.
Oh, God.
And of course, I'm going, I'm not goddamn Santa. I'm an actor. He said, they don't know that. You can't tell these kids literally scream, there's no such thing as Santa. And I went, okay, I got it. Then I had to play this. It was the most amazing experience for a guy like me. I don't like kids that much.
Yeah.
But these kids love being around this kind of pissy Santa. And I learned to be a pissy, nice guy.
Well, the thing is, like, I think kids resonate when they see adults behaving a certain way that they don't see at home. They know it's not quite right, and it's exciting,
I think so, too. I think kids I'm saying with pets, they kind of like it when you're not this gushy guy or gushy person. Maybe I shouldn't say that, because I said I like when people are nice to kids, of course.
Yeah.
Nice to kids. And I would never hurt a child or do anything inappropriate or be inappropriate, all that. But I like being a smart ass and getting right in their face going, are you looking at me?
Yeah.
Stop looking at me.
Yeah.
I love doing that with babies because they just, no, don't stop it. Look someplace else. I don't want to look at you.
But how long had you been doing it though when the everything started happening? So you come back, you get out of jail, and you just start knocking it out?
I knew what I wanted to do immediately. I said, this is not something I want to do. And literally, I put my nose in what I really wanted to do. I worked in a gun store, believe it or not. And
I believe it. Why wouldn't I believe that you worked at a gun store?
Well, I work downstairs. I like weapons. I've always liked weapons.
Weapons, cars, technology, viruses.
Just like guns. I've always there's guns and cameras have that clicky, weird. I love, and I worked in a gun store. It's like Outdoor Man. I worked in a store just like that, and I was a great salesman. At night, I went and did the clubs, and at one point, I sold a Browning or a Beretta. It was a over and under shotgun, and I wasn't in the gun department. Probably shouldn't on parole. I don't think you're allowed to, but I don't think we ever checked into that. And I sold the shotgun. I wasn't allowed to sell the shotgun because I wasn't in that department. But there was a customer that kind of liked my attitude, and I learned about it. I sold him a Browning bamboo, it was an Orvis bamboo rod, which are very expensive. And then I went and sold him a shotgun because the gun guy Leo was not there, and I went to the owner, who I still know. I think he just passed away. And I said, listen, I just sold an $8,500 shotgun and a $4,200 fly fishing setup, and I want a commission off that. And he goes, no, we don't do that. I know, but there's no reason for me to work here and do that if I don't get a commission off that. And he goes, well, then don't work here. And I left, and I said, I had to turn comedy into, it sounds like nothing, but I had to turn comedy into $500 a week somehow. So I started going to different gigs, and that was when we rioted. The Comedy Store did this whole thing where comics should get paid. For a while, we were slave labor.
You were there in '73?
I wasn't there. I was in Detroit, but it spread everywhere. Where every comic had to get $25 a set.
Yeah,
and I think we're still making $25 a set.
Yeah, at the Comedy Store.
Then they opened up all the road work, and I was quickly able to get my rent $500 a month. And then Bobby Slayton, I think, or whoever did the Tonight Show, they were getting up to $9,000 a month or $9,000 a week.
You really are a product of that boom. You're the guy.
all of a sudden you're going, how much is he making? And
doing door deals.
I can't remember the guys that were Tom Sharp. I was thinking of the guys that were starting to headline.
Jake Johansson.
Yes. Shanley.
Yeah, Shanling. Yep.
He was making big money, and I go, my God, you could make a living, and that's when the two worlds collided.
Jenny.
Shit. He and I switched acts one night. I loved his act so much. He did my act, I did his. That's how good his act was. I could just do his act. And he had we were road comics. We were a very different breed than the guys that hung out at Catch in New York and the guys that hung out at the Improv and the Comedy Store. I'd come out to LA and look for Macaulay, and I'm doing 45 minutes on the road and killing myself. I mean, between drinking and drugging and doing comedy, it was, I just was.
So you and Rich Jenny were buddies?
Yeah, real close. He was. I said, I never knew his torment. I never knew I never read any of that in him.
I was working his weekend in Schaumburg Improv when he committed suicide.
I just never saw any of that coming. I mean, nothing. He never was like that. He was one of the guys.
I think he had a break. He had a psychotic break.
Yeah, but I knew him real well. I never knew any of that part of him, and it broke my heart because he's a wonderful guy. I lived there. I've said this to many guys. We don't last long. It seems like comics. It seems like it either burns you out or something. I don't know. There's not many of us.
I don't know. Some of us do. Some of you do. I mean, it's like, the weird thing is like, how would you know? You guys, I think the scary thing is both of you deal with your demons and your anger and your sadness in the same way. So like, how the hell are you going to know unless, someone's going to be, you're going to have those conversations. The sort of rogues gallery of 80s comics, really ran the spectrum.
And we did, you started making great money on the road and then come out to Los Angeles and they want you to do 3 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It was nearly impossible to translate.
A lot of guys couldn't do it. And
couldn't do it. You come here and Jim McCauley says, I can't put you on the Tonight Show with doing your sack jokes about your balls. I said, I told you that's in the middle of you come and see me at the Ice House. And I got an hour. I just want you're supposed to be there at 8:00. I said, just watch the beginning. He goes, well, I didn't get there until 9:15. I said, he told me so many times. I saw Macaulay probably 8 times. He goes, you're funny, but this is not Tonight Show shit.
Right. So, so Macaulay was like, because that was always the thing. That was always the problem with the road guys. It's like, I got to do 5 minutes. I can't do 5 minutes clean. It's like,
I can't do 5 minutes.
You can't do 5 minutes clean? What do you mean you can't do 5?
I scratch my balls in 5 minutes. I can't do this in 5 minutes. And then the short truth is, I eventually get a call to do the Tonight Show, and I didn't want to do it because they want me on as Tim Allen because I have the Home Improvement hit. Now it's the #1 show. I go, I don't want to go on there as a sitcom.
Oh, you didn't get to do it as a stand-up before?
I get there, and right before I'm back there, and he said, "Can I go do some jokes?" And Freddie DeCordova, and then they go, "What? I want to do some jokes." And they said, well, they didn't know how to say no to me. And they said, do you know where to stand? And I lied. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I took my glasses off and I stood, they said to Tim Allen, I stopped and I had no idea where I was. It's a much smaller room than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And the noise and the camera pedestal was right in front of me. Yeah. So I stopped and the curtain hit me in the side of the head because it shut. Yeah. So I'm panicking. I'm sweating. I didn't see the star. They're moving all the bike booms. I freaking died. Oh. And then they said, and then Johnny I'm the guest, so he had me come sit down. And in the break, he leans over. And he said, "Kid, you got to be funnier than that."
Wow!
And I said, I just died. It was the last month he was on the air, and that kind man looked at me, and I said, "I can't believe I screwed that up." He goes, "Look, come back next week." And I came back the next week, drilled it. I mean, that's all that I wanted in my whole life was to do that. Stood there. Killed it. He did the thing which said come over, but I was going to come over anyway. The Cordova and then Macaulay, of course, now my best friends. You drilled it. I said, this is all I ever wanted to do. I can do this thing. And that was off that checklist. Be courageous enough, I told myself, to write down what I really want. I want to be on the Tonight Show.
Oh, yeah, but like it's so interesting to me. So you got booked as a panel guest for Home Improvement in its first season?
Yeah.
And they didn't really acknowledge you as a stand-up. So you're like, I want to do stand-up. And
the show's fine. I love that TV show.
No, I get it. So you kind of bullied them into letting you do stand-up, and and they weren't prepared for that, and you went out there and bombed.
I bombed. I did. The week later, I went out there and killed it. I killed it.
Oh,
and then got down with Johnny.
You're so lucky.
Oh, God, am I lucky?
You're lucky he said he would do that for you.
At that point, I was such a big, the Home Improvement went. It
was huge.
Look at those. It was 23 million people watched that show every Tuesday night.
How'd you get that show?
I did the Showtime special, Minter Pigs, and it killed everywhere. It was big time. And then Jeffrey Katzenberg and Michael Eisner wanted to meet me, and they wanted to see me. So I went to the Improv, which I never worked really. And I did the show there at the Improv to show them. They sat and had dinner with me. And we met at Disney, and they said, we want to be in the Tim Allen business. We want to be in a marriage with Tim Allen. And I said, I'd like to see The Ring first. Uh-huh. And we made a joke, and they offered me Turner and Hooch as a sitcom. And I just said, no, that's Tom Hanks. Yeah. And then they wanted me what was the one with the Dead Poets Society, I think, with Robin Williams? Yeah. The one he did. I said, no, Williams already did a movie like that. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. And they said, Disney wants to be in business with you. Well, I don't want to. They had no idea what kind of money I was making on the road. So they were offering me money that was half of what I made.
But you also had no idea of money that you could make in television.
No, but I didn't care. I didn't want to do that.
Right.
And they said, went back to Michigan. I'm on my outdoor mower. I had loved mowing my own lawn with a big John Deere. And I was sitting on that lawnmower. When my wife called, and she said, Jeffrey Katzenberg's on the phone. I get there, and he goes, I'm stunned that you went back to Michigan. I said, well, we had this conversation. I don't want to do that. He goes, he never had been said no to like that. Yeah. And he goes, let me rephrase this. You know what I was offering you? I said, yeah, I appreciate the offer. I just don't want to do that. He goes, well, what would you want to do? I said, what I would want to do is make a parody of This Old House with Norm and Bob Villa.
Yeah.
And have a neighbor that I can't see. And I pitched it. I want three boys, I would do what I do in Michigan. I never really see my neighbor. I just wave at this figure that we had. And I want to do that. And then have a show within a show I break stuff all the time. And he just said, I don't know. And then he got me together with the people that did Cosby and Roseanne. And we all agreed.
Is that Carsey Warner?
No, it was Matt Williams, Wind Dancer.
Oh.
And they took my act, that I'd done to Showtime, and kind of merged it into a character, and the rest was gold. Luckily I had extremely competent director, John Pasquin, and great writers and people, all good actors that taught me how to be an actor.
Well, that was the model then, right? You were enough of a defined character. Now, was there a moment where because you sort of were one of those guys that I would say you had a hook, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, did you know the day that you came up with that hook, and you're like,
oh yeah. Oh, yeah. They had I did a regular show, and then it was, as I recall, it was in Cincinnati, Ohio, or Akron, actually, for Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Yeah. I did their corporate sales meeting early on in my career, and I was doing my bits, and there was men just eating and smoking cigarettes in the room. No one was listening to me.
Yeah.
I said, I'm never going to do this again. I hate this.
Yeah.
And I started mimicking the growling and grunting. I hear, rah, 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 rah. Yeah. So I started doing that bit, and all these men were going, that's funny.
Yeah.
And I started mimicking what men sound like when they're eating, and that became that grunt. Then I started doing lawnmowers and paint and hardware store stuff. And we did a show for Gino Michelini in Los Angeles. He taped me, put on the Friday Funnies or something.
Yeah.
They get 8 or 9 calls, 20 calls. Who was that guy? Instead, they got like 800 calls right away. Who's that guy doing the lawnmower stuff? As soon as you have something, as Bob Seger once told me, you got to go to a town and come back instead in a month, not 6 months, come back a month later and see if they remember you. If they remember who you are and you can put butts in the seats, you own it. And I learned that lesson. Do morning radio. I don't care how late I stayed out. Do morning radio.
Yeah.
do morning radio and get a hook, get it so they remember you. It's much like pop music, that there's a thing in there that they remember. And they remember the guy that barked, like, did that caveman thing and talked about lawnmowers.
Yeah.
And the rest was really history, because